There are times in life that mark us forever. Mine happened when, with a bouquet of chrysanthemums and the best of intentions, I knocked on the door of the house where I grew up and was received with a gesture that was worth 1,000 words, the dry sound of the door closing on my face. This is not your place here. 4 months later, while my family wondered, gaping, like a poor thing as I could have bought a mansion in Moscow, I just smiled, because the answer I gave that day left them without argument. But to understand how I got there, I need to tell the story of scratch. My name is Polina. I'm 32 years old, and everything changed with an unexpected connection. On the other side of the line, Aunt Lita's trembling voice, Polina, honey, I need to talk to you. She was the only one who still cared, the only one I knew why, a decade ago, I had cut ties with my family, parents, brother, sister without looking back. I had a horrible dream with your parents last night, he confessed hesitantly. You haven't talked for years. But what if it was time to try to fix things? After all, blood is blood. I sighed deep. Aunt Reed has always been different, human, understanding. I didn't want to disappoint her. I doubt it works, Aunt, I said, but the date on the calendar made me think Mother's Day was coming. Maybe it was a sign. Maybe it was the last chance to prove it to myself that I had tried. But to understand why that gesture cost so much, I need to go back 10 years in time. At 22, newly graduated in finance and investment by one of the best universities in Moscow, I started my career as an analyst at an asset manager in his stock market, living in a rented apartment, dreaming of a future that built with my own hands, until my grandmother, the only one who truly loved me in that family, died. In the will, she left a house for her 3 children, including my father. The property was sold, and the money divided. But what no one expected was the legacy she reserved for the 5 grandchildren, 500,000 rubles for each. Me, my brother, my sister, and 2 cousins. There, egalitarian. Or so I thought. 3 days later, my mother called me to a family dinner. When I arrived, my brother's closed faces and my sister warned me something was very wrong. We need to talk, said my mother, serving tea with calculated calm. Your sister will get married in 4 months. Congratulations, I thought. But what followed the following blood? The party is expensive. You will give your inheritance part to cover the costs. I was paralyzed. Sorry, what? My sister needed a wedding dress, a buffet, photos, and, according to them, my money was the solution. Don't be petty, cut my father. Family helps yourself. But what about the others? I argued. Maxim and the cousins also received. Why only me? My mother's answer was a blow. Because Yusha needs more. I got up from the table. No, this money is mine. I will invest in my future. My sister burned in fury. If you don't, it doesn't come to marriage. My father exploded. Get out of my house. Selfish. I don't want to see you anymore. I was there, stunned. I knew I was always the least loved daughter, but that was resignation and a dose to ride. Are you serious? Absolutely, confirmed my mother. Don't go back until you change your mind. I left without saying goodbye. I waited weeks for a sign, an excuse, anything. Nothing. I sent birthday messages. Silence. After months of indifference, I gave up. But as they went out of life, I turned those 500,000 into something much bigger. I invested everything in a telemedicine startup that barely crawled. I studied the business plan, believed in the team. 5 years later, the company opened capital in the Moscow stock market. My actions were worth 7.5 million. I didn't stop there. Re-embroider departs in an AI company, specializing in neural networks and processing Goff language. At the same time, I followed my career in the manager, but my true heritage grew in actions, titles, foreign currencies, and participation in innovative projects. 10 years later, my capital exceeded 35 million. They never knew. For my family, I was still the rebellious daughter who turned her back, until Aunt Lita called again, insisting, what if you tried on Mother's Day? Against my own logic, I bought a bouquet of chrysanthemums and white lilies, the most expensive I found, and returned to that gray building in Kenki, where my childhood had been a succession of comparisons and rejections. The range elevator equally 10 years ago, the door of the apartment the same. When my mother saw me, her face went by surprise, confusion, and finally pure disdain. What do you want here? Happy Mother's Day, he said, extending the flowers. I thought we could talk. She didn't even touch the bouquet. Behind her, my father, my brother, and my sister, now with 2 children I saw for the first time. They stared at me like an intruder. Can I come in? My mother blocked the passage. Here's not your place. Go away. The door knocked. I stayed there, holding on those useless flowers, feeling the biggest idiot in the world for believing that time could soften stone hearts. I called Aunt Lita on the way back. They didn't change, Aunt, not at all. His voice came up with a pity. If it's like this, my dear, you may not be worth insisting. And she was right. That day something in me closed for good, but another door opened. With almost 40 million in mine, why did you still pay rent? It was time to have a home. A real home. I hired a broker and defined my criteria. A house in Moscow with at least 3 rooms, land of at least 10 hectares, and, of course, a pool. Weeks later, I found my refuge, a modern property in a closed luxury condominium with integrated kitchen, master suite, 2 guest rooms, and a 12-hectare garden. The place where I finally belonged. When my family discovered through gossip, of course they came with everything. What exhibitionism is this? Why did it pretend to be poor all these years? I just smile, because the answer was on my bank account, my new address, and, above all, in peace of no longer having to prove anything to anyone. They lost a daughter. I won an empire. And in the end, who won heated outdoor pool, the gourmet area with barbecue details that transformed the property into a refuge of luxury and comfort. The property cost 42 million rubles, but I do not accept prices without negotiation. I offered 40 million, paid in cash by a letter of credit, without financing. The seller stumbled on time. 3 weeks later, the contract was registered on Rossreister. Finally, I own my own home. The day of change was a delicious madness. For years, I have collected pieces that deserved a home to the height. Armchairs of Italian designers, lamps signed by artists, markings of emerging names of the contemporary circuit. Everything, finally, found its place. I called Aunt Lida, the only one who ever doubted me. Polly Ochka, how happy I am. What a pride. Her voice trembled with emotion. I'm going to have an inauguration party. You come? Of course, my dear. Can I invite the rest of the family? They would love to see what you have achieved. I smiled. Invite anyone who wants to, less my parents, my brother and my sister. They are not welcome. The date chosen was March, exactly 4 months after that disastrous Mother's Day. I invited colleagues from the asset management company, former colleagues from the Faculty of Finance, and even some distant cousins, those same heirs of Grandma's 500,000 rubles. When they arrived, his eyes almost jumped from the orbits. Polina, this is from another planet. Yaroslav did not hide the astonishment. I never imagined you. What do I asked, playing. Kai had all this. I worked hard. I investigate right. It was then that Irina, my cousin, pulled me to a corner. Can I ask you a question? I swallowed hard. Your parents have always said you had problems with alcohol and gambling. That's why the family cut relationships with you. I'd almost choked on champagne. Really? She nodded. Years repeating this story. Helena drinks, loses everything and bets. I looked at my designer dress, to the impeccably decorated house, to the guests around me. I look like an alcoholic or a casino's addict. Dorina. She blushed. No, it's obvious not. But what really happened? I sighed. A long story. Let's say we disagree with the value of the money. It was not worth spoiling the night reliving traumas a decade ago. The party was a success. The guests were delighted with the barbecue by the pool, admiring every detail of the project. The catering, signed by a starry chef from Moscow, even snatched up the most demanding palates. For the first time, I felt the weight and the sweetness to have my own space, my own legacy, until a deafening noise echoed through the gateway. Someone hit hard enough to shake the walls. I opened. There they were, my mother, my father, Maxim, and Kasusha, with fiery looks from an indignation that only hypocrites dominate. What a circus is this? My mother pushed the door, invading the lobby. Why didn't they invite us? Because you didn't even let me step on your home on Mother's Day. Remember? My father looked around, his eyes wide like dishes. Where did you take money from such a house? It's not your account, father. My mother exploded. You fool us all these years. I pretended to be poor while living like a queen. The party froze. All the eyes turned to the show my family had decided to stage. The size of my account is not your problem. I cut dry. Get out of my house. But she was not over. Upon seeing Yaroslav and Irina, he ran toward them. Dramatic. You have to make her get in. Rifford. She abandoned us for no reason. Like an ungrateful selfish. They, embarrassed, did not know where to hide. I repeated, this time in a glacial tone. Last time. Get out, or I call the police. They left, but the humiliation was already consummated. I turned to the guests with a forced smile. Sorry for the show, guys. The party continues. Most laughed, relieved. The weather gradually recomposed itself, but I saw in the eyes of some cousins the shadow of doubt. It was not time for explanations. After all, I was the hostess, and my only obligation was to make sure everyone had fun. When the last guest left, I sank on the living room couch. reliving every second. 10 years. 10 years telling everyone that I was a failure, a drunk, a compulsive player, anything that justified our breakup. But it was enough to see my house, my success, so that the mask would fall. It was not love that brought them back. It was greed. Always has been. The next day, my phone kept vibrating. I didn't answer, but the messages accumulated. From my mother, on WhatsApp, we know you're a successful investor. You have an obligation to share with your family. From my sister, I'm drowned in Burbank mortgages. You must help me. From my brother, my farm is falling apart. My wife is pregnant. We need a new car. I read everything with a bitter smile. 10 years of silence. 10 years of indifference. And now, like cockroaches, they emerged to the first smell of money. I blocked all numbers without responding. A week later, Aunt Lida called. Polina, her parents don't stop calling me, trying to use me to get to you. And what did you say? That they had their chances on Mother's Day when you appeared with flowers. They wasted it. He paused, and I added that they were only interested in you, and now they discovered their success. He got it right. I'm proud of you, my girl. No, give in. You deserve much more. I thought that blocking them would solve. My mistake. They would not give up so easy. 2 weeks later, when I got home at work, I spotted an old Hyundai Solaris known to the gate. My parents, in the car, barking. As soon as I entered the courtyard, they jumped like creditors charging a debt. Polina, we need to talk, my father started, with that mellow voice of used salesman. No, we don't have to. Polyachka, we are family. My mother tried the sweet tone, pretending tenderness. We stopped being a family for 10 years. When you kicked me out for not giving my spoiled daughter my money, that was in the past. My father tried to soften. We were all changed. No, you said exactly what you thought. And the only reason you are here today is because you found that I have money. My mother's fake smile evaporated. So what? Family helps family. Where was this help when I started from scratch? Where was it when I appeared with flowers on Mother's Day? Silence. Get out of my property. Or registration and occurrence by home invasion. They left, but I knew it wasn't the end. And it wasn't. A week later, they were waiting for the office to exit, lurking behind a column in the parking lot of the business center in Sadovaya. Polina, wait, Maxon shouted. I turned around. There came, in military formation, mother, father, brother, and sister. Have you lost the notion? This is already persecution. We just want to talk. Kasyusha pouted, like the victim. They had 10 years to speak. They chose the silence. Now it's my turn to shut up. We missed it. The phrase was dragged from my mother's lips, as if each syllable weighed a ton. Forgive us. I crossed my arms, studying their faces, the same expression of calculated guilt they used when they needed something. Why are you exactly asking for forgiveness? For expelling me from home? For the 10 years of radioactive silence? For lies about my supposed alcoholism and gambling? The parking floor seemed more interesting than my eyes to them. Everyone lowered their heads, like children handles with their cookies box. We heard about your financial applications. My father changed his tactic, his thick voice taking me out. Congratulations. You got along. Without our help? Note well. Without your help. I laugh. Bitter. Exactly. And it was the best thing that could have happened. Listening, Maxim tried to appeal to sentimentality, the falsely smooth tone. Yes, there has been mistakes in the past, but we are family. Families forgive themselves. Families support themselves in difficult times. Families do not invent destroying gossip over each other, he said. For me, you are strangers. Final point. Please. Polina Kasyusha wiped a theatrical tear with her back. I have serious problems with the mortgage. If you could help me, just a little, and there it was. The real reason. Ah, now we come to the heart of the question. He smiled without humor. Let's clarify one thing. You didn't invite me to your marriage because I didn't give you money. It avoided me for a decade. Caught that I was a drunk addicted to casinos. And now you want me to save your mortgage? You were young and idiot. I'm not like that anymore. She protested weakly. It's exactly the same. But now it needs money. I turned my back and walked toward the car. If they keep following me, I filed a lawsuit for persecution. Lawsuit. Restrictive order. This has gone from all the limits. This time, they understood. They did not appear anymore at home or at work. But the wound remained open. I had to relive all that pain, all that anger. For weeks, I dragged the weight of Thaddel's meetings like an anchor, until, slowly, my life shone again, and she was better than ever. My investment portfolio grew. Alexei, my boyfriend, IT genius I met through friends, was my safe haven. You owe nothing to them, he said. When I told the story, the fingers intertwined in mine. Being a relative does not give anyone the right to destroy you and then demand financial aid. Sometimes doubts haunted me. Was it too hard? But the truth was too cruel to ignore. They expelled me for money. They ignored me for a decade. They invented lies to justify their greed. And now, they only came back because my success blinded them. Alexei was right. I was not cruel. I defended myself. And my life, without them, flourished. Elegant dinners at home, swimming pool barbecues, laughs that echoed the walls, aunt deals, and the cousins, those who really mattered, filled my hot house. This is how a family should be. Until, on one of these nights, Yaroslav, my favorite cousin, pulled me into a corner. Polina, can I ask you something? What really happened between you and your parents? Because this story of alcoholism and games is obvious lie. I took a deep breath. It was time to tell the truth. I told you everything. The grandmother's will. The 500,000 they demanded for Kasiusha's wedding. The threat of disinheriting me if I didn't give in. The betrayal. Serious? Irina, another cousin, put her hand to her mouth, shocked. Did they cut you because of that? Exactly. And now they want to go back just because they found out that my investments worked. Yaroslav shook his head indignant. This is disgusting. It's life. Shrugged my shoulders. But without them, I'm better, much better. And it was the pure truth. Mansion, rising career, a love that valued me, friends I chose, family that welcomed me. Everything they never were. Months later, Aunt Lida called, her voice tense. Polina, your parents are asking all relatives for their new number. And did you give? Of course not. I said I didn't. Good. Maybe they understand the message. Looks like they understood. She sighed. I haven't been news of them for weeks. And how are they financially? Did the crisis squeeze? Not that I know. Your father still works. The house is the same. They are not in misery, honey. Only the greed that erodes them. Exactly what I suspected. They didn't need help. They wanted a piece of my success after a decade of silence. They made their choice 10 years ago. I made mine. Now, who live with the consequences. And for me, everything had been referred in the best way possible. 2 years have passed since they stopped chasing me. And it was the two most amazing years of my life. My portfolio exceeded 50 million rubles. Another promotion at work. Alexei and I moved together, and the word marriage was already hung in the air. My house became a magnet of joy. Monthly dinners, summer parties by the pool. It lasted until dawn. Aunt Lida was a guaranteed presence, with the cousins and uncles who, these, became my true family. Until, on one of these nights, Yaroslav called me discreetly. Polina, I need to tell you something. Your parents came to me. Did you look for you? They asked about your parties. Someone must have said that you have big meetings here. He paused. They wanted to know if I could invite them. I smile, ironic. And what did you say? That I have no authority to invite anyone to your home. If you want to come, to ask you. And they didn't insist. I think they already know what their answer would be. Nailed it. After all they did, they thought they could appear, smile, and enjoy my success. Never. 6 months later, an unexpected phone call. Aunt reads, the trembling voice. Pollock, I have to warn you. Your father had a heart attack. My heart stopped. How is he? Stable. It's not serious. It's in the hospital, but out of danger. I was silent, digesting the news. As much as everything had happened, he was still my father. Polina, are you there? I am. I took a deep breath. Thank you for warning me. Will you visit you? I hesitated. A part of me shouted, Go. It's your father! Exclamation. Another remember, they only look for you when they need something. I don't think it's a good idea, Aunt Reed. If they wanted to have me around, they would have wanted me before, not only when they needed money or when health fails. She sighed. I understand, honey. I just thought you should know. 2 days later, and a no number blinked on the screen. I'd almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Hello? Polina, it's me. Your mother. Should have turned off, but I didn't get off. What do you want? Your father is in the hospital. I thought you should know. Aunt Lida has already warned me. Won't you come? Did your voice tremble of emotion or calculation? He's your father. He was no longer my father the day he kicked me out of the house. Polina, please. He asked for you. I doubted. If I wanted to see me, I would have been looking for me for years. Not now. Sick and vulnerable. We make mistakes, but we are a family. You made your choice. I live with the consequences of mine. Live with yours, and hung up. Alexei found me in the kitchen. Fixed eyes on his cell phone. Dark expression. All good? I told about the connection. He sat next to me, the hot hand over mine. What do you think? I don't know. One part of me says to go. Another remembers that they only appear when they need something. And what do you want? Protect my heart. They have repeatedly proved that they don't want a relationship. They want my money, my home, my success. Nothing more. Then trust your instinct. My father recovered. Life followed. I didn't visit him at the hospital, and I didn't feel guilty. Because, deep down, even the family needs reciprocity. They chose the silence, the betrayal, the greed. I chose to rebuild myself. 6 months later, I organized a monumental party for my 35th birthday. The house overflowed. Friends, colleagues, relatives I chose to have around. Aunt Lita brought distant cousins that I haven't seen for years. All laughed. All were present. And for the first time in a long time, me too. The night was still excited as the wrath approached with a strange expression on the face. Polina, you won't believe it. I just got a message from your brother, Maximum. I raised the eyebrow. What message? He asked to photograph your party and send the photos. He said his parents want to see how you are. I shook my head, almost laughing at the irony. Until now, after all, they were still trying to peek from afar. Ira answered for me, with a firmness that only a true friend has. If you want to know how you are, that call and ask. Good answer, I muttered, touching his arm in gratitude. I didn't need more words. They had lost the right to know my steps when they chose the money instead of me. Later, when the last guest said goodbye and only me and Leosha left and arranging the scattered glasses, he asked the question that was already echoing in my head. Did you never regretting ties with them? I stopped, held the cup between my fingers, and looked out the window where the city's lights blinked like promises. No, my life is better without your manipulation, without your games of guilt. Now I have people who love me for what I am, not for what I can give. But it's still your family. He hesitated, as if weighing the words. Blood does not make a family, I said, gesturing to the still hot living room of that night's laughs. Family is the one who is here, who celebrated with me, who hugs me without second intentions. Aunt Lita, the cousins I chose to have around you. They don't want me out of obligation. They want me for affection. And that, Leosha, is what I always deserved. 3 years if they have been a new home that became a battlefield. My parents never stopped trying to go back, but never asked for forgiveness, never recognized what they did. They never looked at me in the eye and asked, how are you? Without a hidden interest. I learned that I am not obliged to carry the blame for protecting me. I am not selfish for choosing peace. Today, my house is full with laughs that are not forced, with hands that follow me in difficult times, with love that requires nothing in return. My career takes off. My heart is light, and for the first time in years, I sleep without the weight of expectations of others. They made their choice a decade ago. I made mine. And for the first time, I'm finally at peace.